Right now on Morning News Now, closing arguments on the campaign trail. This morning, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Trump pushing for your vote just 6 days from the election. VP Harris making her case on the ellipse in Washington and reminding voters it's the same place former President Trump rallied supporters before the January 6th riots.
We know who Donald Trump is. He is the person who stood at this very spot nearly 4 years ago and sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol. It is time for a new generation of leadership in America.
And in battleground Pennsylvania, Mr. Trump working to win the Latino vote on the heels of a comedian's controversial comments about Puerto Rico at a Trump rally last weekend.
I think no president's done more for Puerto Rico than I have, so thank you.
All this as millions of early voters turn in their ballots. We have team coverage. Also this morning, conflict and criticism in the Middle East after that deadly airstrike by Israel in Gaza. And new overnight, 2 senior White House advisors now set to meet with Israel's prime minister. We'll bring you the latest. Plus, sleeping smart, the new research linking a good night's rest to better brain health. And spooky season on the big screen. We're getting in the Halloween spirit one day early with a look at some of the hauntingly horrifying movies in theaters right now, plus some creepy classics. Sure to get you in the mood to celebrate. I have not been doing enough spooky season viewing.
I have done none, nor will I,
Joe doesn't like scary things.
But we know many of you do enjoy that. The election's spooky enough for us, right? Good morning, good to have you with us on this Wednesday. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. We begin this Wednesday morning with the race for the White House with 6 days to go until the election.
Another busy day is on tap for the candidates. Former President Trump is holding campaign rallies in the battleground states of North Carolina and Wisconsin. Vice President Harris will also be in North Carolina and Wisconsin today, along with a stop in Pennsylvania. Harris delivered what's being called her closing argument speech last night before a huge crowd on the ellipse in Washington. It's the same location where Mr. Trump gave his speech on January 6th. She framed the decision she thinks voters will need to make.
This election is more than just a choice between 2 parties and 2 different candidates. It is a choice about whether we have a country rooted in freedom for every American or ruled by chaos and division.
Meanwhile, President Biden is under fire this morning after weighing in yesterday on those racist comments made by a comedian at former President Trump's Madison Square rally regarding Puerto Rico.
And just the other day, a speaker at his rally called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. They're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable, and it's un-American.
The White House now doing damage control. The president later tweeted a clarification. Voters across the country are continuing to take advantage of early voting, according to the latest data from Target Smart and analyzed by the NBC News Decision Desk. More than 52 million people have already cast their ballots. For the latest, we're joined by NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard, who's covering the Trump campaign. We're also joined by NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez, who's covering the Harris campaign. Good morning to both of you. Vaughn, let's start with you. Former President Trump, we're hearing from him really for the first time reacting to those crude and racist comments about Hispanics that were made at his rally here in New York over the weekend. What is he saying?
Right. This is his first time publicly commenting on those remarks there about 48 hours later. I want to let you listen to part of a conversation he had with Sean Hannity where he directly responded. Take a listen.
Somebody said there was a comedian that joked about Puerto Rico or something, and I have no idea who it was. Never saw him, never heard of him, and don't want to hear of him. But I have no idea. They put a comedian in, which everybody does. You throw comedians in. You don't vet them and go crazy. It's nobody's fault. But somebody said some bad things. I don't know if it's a big deal or not, but I don't want anybody making nasty jokes or stupid jokes. Yeah. Probably he shouldn't have been there, yeah.
Guys, this is perhaps notable because Donald Trump is not one who usually walks away from his supporters, allies, or apologizes in really any way. And so for him, he's understanding of the potential repercussions. The fact that there are hundreds of thousands of Puerto Rican voters, particularly in the state of Pennsylvania, where he was actually rallying last night in Allentown, Pennsylvania, for a campaign event now with just 1 week until Election Day. And Senator Marco Rubio of Florida was with him at that event and actually walked up onto stage to announce to the crowd himself. He read the quote from Joe Biden, President Biden, earlier, essentially trying to take the garbage comments made at Madison Square Garden and shift them back onto President Biden. And the way that they are characterizing President Biden's statement came across directing it towards supporters of Donald Trump and the MAGA movement.
Gabe, let's bring you in and talk about President Biden's response to those comments. We just played a bit of them a moment ago, the part he's being criticized for. What did he say, and how's the White House responding?
Hi there, Savannah. Good morning. Well, the White House is in damage control mode. As you heard Vaughn say, Trump supporters are blaming President Biden for calling them garbage. Well, you just played that video right there. The White House then released a transcript trying to clean up his comments. And the White House says the only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters with an apostrophe S. Now, that apostrophe S is very key, according to the White House, because they say that he was referring to the supporters' demonization of Latinos being unconscionable and un-American. However, if you listen to the video, the president did pause and then continue with his next sentence. Still, he did then post on social media on X a clarification. And he said here, earlier today, I referred to the hateful rhetoric about Puerto Rico spewed by Trump's supporter at his Madison Square Garden rally as garbage, which is the only word I can think to describe it. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable. That's all I meant to say. The comments at that rally don't reflect who we are as a nation. But again, Savannah, many Trump supporters are saying that these comments are reminiscent of Hillary Clinton's comments back in 2016, calling Trump supporters a basket of deplorables.
A punctuation debate now happening in this year's presidential race. So, Gabe, let's talk about Vice President Harris. She was visiting several battleground states today. She gave that speech last night at the Ellipse to an estimated 60,000 people. Talk more about her message to voters there.
That's right. Well, she's embarking on another battleground blitz today, going to North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. But I was at that rally last night at the Ellipse, not far here from the White House, really with the White House as a backdrop. And the Harris campaign saying that that choice was deliberate, one, to signify the gravity of the office and signify how important her comments were, and also that that was the exact location where former President Trump spoke on January 6th, just before some of his supporters attacked the U.S. Capitol. Here's more of what Vice President Harris had to say during that rally.
He is the person who stood at this very spot nearly 4 years ago and sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol to overturn the will of the people in a free and fair election. We have to stop pointing fingers and start locking arms. It is time to turn the page on the drama and the conflict.
And you just heard her there. The Harris campaign really trying to reach persuadable voters at this point, and she made the point that we expect to hear a lot of in the next few days, which is, in the campaign's view, Donald Trump has an enemies list, while Kamala Harris has a to-do list. Joan, Savannah.
Vaughn, let's talk, though, about the former president's schedule. He will also be in North Carolina and in Wisconsin. What can we expect on his schedule?
Right, we're down to less than a week of campaigning here at this point. You know, on that Tuesday, Election Day, he's going to be in Palm Beach, Florida, where he's going to go vote. So really, the clock is ticking on the opportunities to get out on the road and actually have these events. And when you're looking at 7 battleground states that are really in contention, that both sides are playing for, it's really going to make for an intense last few days out on the road. And today he's going to be making stop in North Carolina for a campaign event this afternoon. Of course, North Carolina is the one battleground state that he won in 2016 and 2020. His campaign all but needs to hold on to that state, most likely in order to get those 270 electoral votes. And then this evening, he'll be heading up to battleground Wisconsin, specifically Green Bay, where he's going to be joined for that evening rally alongside the likes of former Packers quarterback Brett Favre. Guys.
All right, Vaughn and Gabe, thank you both.
Well, Florida is one of 10 states where abortion will be on the ballot next week. Right now, the state has the 6-week abortion ban in place. If passed, this new ballot measure, it's called Proposition 4, it would expand abortion access up to fetal viability.
One unlikely group of voters is working to garner support for Prop 4. They call themselves Republican Women for Freedom. As the name might suggest, they are registered Republicans who support abortion rights. NBC News senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett spoke with one of the women behind the effort.
Thank you all so much for coming.
In this suburban living room, a group of women united over a single issue.
I am a pro-choice Republican.
Me too.
There are a lot of women I know who are just like me.
We've got to get them out there to vote.
A lifelong Republican in Florida, Carol Whitmore is laser focused on mobilizing others like her to vote in favor of abortion rights this election.
We decided to start this group. It's called Republican Women for Freedom.
And what was the motivation behind it?
It was to give the Republicans and others a safe place to talk about this issue and talk about facts.
How did you get involved in the issue of reproductive rights?
When I was young, I had to have an abortion, and I thought, well, if people like me don't speak up, it's going to always be this way.
She's using informal house parties like this one to reach conservative women in private, hoping to galvanize support on Amendment 4, a proposal that would wipe out the state's existing 6-week abortion ban and restore access to the procedure up to the point of fetal viability.
We want you to get the message out that nobody messes with our bodies.
Florida, one of nearly a dozen states with abortion rights on the ballot this election, but the only one that requires a 60% supermajority, meaning it needs bipartisan support to pass. Agreement like we found with Jane and her daughter Beth.
So mom liberal, daughter more moderate, and yet on this issue, you're completely aligned.
Absolutely.
There are a lot of women like me that might be fiscally conservative, but socially 100% that we believe a woman has a right to choose who decides what happens to her body.
Jane, at times, growing emotional.
We had no legal abortions, and I've fought all my life to get this going. And then it was settled, Roe versus Wade. Wow, yay! And then all of a sudden, it's overturned, and now we're fighting all over again.
But there is deep division among Republicans. Governor Ron DeSantis, who signed the 6-week ban into law, has been actively campaigning for the amendment to fail.
If you don't know what this would do, you should vote no. This is something that is going to be a part of Florida forever.
While former President Trump once said the 6-week ban went too far,
It has to be more time.
he later changed his stance, saying he would vote against the amendment. But back in Manatee County, Carol is staying the course.
You're in the second most conservative county
In Florida.
in Florida.
Yes. Trump will probably win my county, but on this issue, the women are going to speak up.
Laura Jarrett, NBC News, Lakewood Ranch, Florida.
As we get closer to Election Day, efforts to protect the integrity of the voting process are ramping up. Federal and state agencies are working around the clock to identify fake videos that go viral and to stop foreign interference that could mislead voters. One federal cybersecurity group even set up a rumor versus reality webpage. NBC News Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley takes a closer look.
Just a week before Election Day, ballot drop boxes on fire, mountains of fake information cluttering the internet, and U.S. officials sounding the alarm about foreign countries trying to sow chaos.
There has been a fire hose of disinformation coming at voters.
Like this video that just went viral purporting to show someone ripping up ballots in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. But it's fake, according to U.S. agencies tracking election misinformation. They said in a statement that the video is part of a Russian disinformation effort to, quote, raise unfounded questions about the integrity of the U.S. election. The agency leading the charge, CISA, the nation's cybersecurity and infrastructure security agency. CISA is tasked with making sure votes are counted, poll workers stay safe, and information like this gets called out for the sham that it is.
They are looking to sow partisan discord, to pit Americans against each other.
CISA's director, Jen Easterly, says the agency is trying to set the record straight on its Rumor vs. Reality webpage. But they have some limits to their powers, like those ballot drop boxes, not their purview. And the agency practicing restraint when it comes to policing Americans' free speech. Like earlier this year, when about 50,000 New Hampshire voters received this robocall from a deepfake pretending to be Joe Biden, telling them not to vote in the state's primary.
Voting this Tuesday only enables the Republicans.
It wasn't CISA that jumped in, but the state.
That messaging was clearly a form of voter suppression. It was illegal and simply inappropriate.
The Secretary of State telling us his office blasted out a response on social media and in press releases. But why would the feds not get involved?
Why would CISA be reluctant to step in any situation, and why would they rather leave some things to state and locals?
Well, so states, by the Constitution, run elections.
Other constraints, Easterly says, are social media companies cutting their staff that handle government requests to remove disinformation, a hot-button issue.
Obviously, the great thing about America is you have freedoms to include freedom of speech.
If there's bad information that comes from an American citizen and they're protected by free speech online, do you respond differently to that than you would if you know it's coming from a foreign adversary?
Well, we've put out specific information about what our foreign adversaries are doing. But at the end of the day, we are just looking to put out accurate information.
Senator Mark Warner, a Democrat, pushing for CISA to do more in a letter last month arguing that artificial intelligence has supercharged the threats to elections.
Do you think CISA should be the one to tell the American people when something is fake news?
I think that CISA hasn't been willing to lean in as much on the fake news definition because you have so many, candidly, Americans putting out fake news.
Come Election Day, if misinformation is swirling, Warner thinks CISA should be prepared to step in.
The most important thing is to get that word out as quickly as possible, and that may require a federal response.
But in America's patchwork election system, CISA may not be able to put out every fire.
What should voters do if they see something on Election Day that they're not sure if it's true or not?
The trusted source is your state and local election official.
Key for voters to keep in mind as they head to the polls and wait for the results.
Our thanks to Julia Ainsley for that report. Now, CISA says if you are looking for state-specific election information, you can go to the hashtag TrustedInfo2024 page of nass.org. That is the website for the National Association of Secretaries of State.
Well, several major newspapers across the U.S. have decided not to endorse a presidential candidate this year. The most recent decision came last week from billionaire Jeff Bezos, who owns the Washington Post. That is, of course, a storied paper, and it's endorsed in almost every presidential election since 1976.
Now, he announced the paper wouldn't be endorsing either candidate after a draft had already been in the works supporting Vice President Harris. The decision reportedly led to hundreds of thousands of people canceling their subscriptions, with some members of the editorial board resigning.
John Alsop joins us now. He wrote an op-ed about this non-endorsement trend for the Columbia Journalism Review's daily newsletter called The Media Today. John, good morning. Thanks for being here. So just first, let's start point blank. Why are we seeing these publications avoid endorsing a presidential candidate for this election in particular?
Yeah, thank you for having me, first of all. So this is a longer-term trend. It's not just the Washington Post and the LA Times this cycle, but major kind of networks that own lots of local newspapers have stepped away from doing endorsements at the presidential and other kind of major national election levels in recent years. So it's not a totally new phenomenon. And the reason that is often cited for this is reader trust, basically. They say that it makes a newspaper appear biased to endorse one candidate for president over another, particularly in an age where news and opinion content, which was once kind of packaged in a newspaper and clearly separated, sort of floats online. And I think there's also a sense that these endorsements just don't make a lot of difference anymore. People don't rely on them to make their political choices. And so I think there's a sense that, particularly in such a divided country, they can do more harm than good in terms of reader trust. Whether that's the actual reason for these specific decisions made by the billionaire owners of the Post and the LA Times, well, that's been the subject of some debate.
Yeah, John, I want to ask you more about that. I mean, as we mentioned, thousands and thousands of people unsubscribed, not just from the Washington Post, but the LA Times as well. In response, Bezos echoed what you just said. He wrote, presidential endorsements do nothing to tip the scales of an election. How right is he, and has that changed over time? Was there a time when endorsements seemed to have more power and they've lost that as people get their information from more and more sources?
Yeah, I think that's a hard question to answer, like, scientifically. But I think it's certainly true to say that the media, atmosphere or the media environment today is much noisier, much more fragmented. There are so many more places where people can get their news, that these sort of, news institutions that perhaps traditionally were seen more as gatekeepers of the political conversation, at least to a greater extent, have, I think, lost authority. I think it's worth noting quickly that this is not just a question of endorsements at the presidential level. Local newspapers in particular also endorse candidates, sometimes right down to, quite obscure local municipal offices. I think there's some evidence that those endorsements can still have something of an impact in races perhaps where readers and voters don't have as much information about the candidates. But, people have their opinions. I think it's safe to say by and large about Donald Trump and Kamala Harris by now. It's not to say that these newspaper endorsements can't persuade anybody, but I think it's probably fair to say they're not as influential as they were in the past.
And John, I think what you're saying when you say as influential or they serve a purpose for readers in a down ballot race like that is essentially sort of helping people decide or understanding some of the issues that a particular candidate stands for, which then leads to this question of, well, is that what a paper's for? Well, that's where sometimes this confusion, right, over the paper and then the editorial section, the opinion section of a paper differs, which can be, you wrote, confusing online. And you did write there are some reasonable arguments for killing an endorsement. What are those?
Well, I think it goes back to what we were discussing before. I think if your newspaper puts out, a lot of great fact-driven reporting that someone comes across online and is, convinced is true, but then they see, oh, well, this newspaper endorsed a Democrat or this paper endorsed Donald Trump, maybe it can lead that voter to, distrust the fact-based reporting, which, of course, no one wants. My personal view of this is I think there are good reasons to keep endorsements as well. I think, regardless of their ability to persuade voters, I think that they can serve as a former opinion editor of the Chicago Tribune once put it, an opportunity for newspapers as kind of civic institutions to come to a full stop every few years and to say, here's where we see the world, here's how we stand. I also don't personally think that getting rid of endorsements just on their own is enough to win back reader trust in an environment where that is very low. I think that will require, I think it's a much bigger problem than just endorsements, basically. But yeah, there certainly are some good reasons for getting rid of them. It's a legitimate debate. I think the timing of these decisions by particularly the Washington Post and the LA Times has been what has been most concerning to a lot of people.
John, you mentioned in your piece that the decision to not endorse has some journalists worried about interference in their reporting from their paper's owners. For example, maybe not letting them pursue a report that could upset a high-profile leader. We're real tight on time here, but real quick, is that something that could happen?
I think that Jeff Bezos would say he has not interfered in the reporting of the Washington Post, and I think a lot of journalists at that paper would also say that that is the case. But, the questions have been raised about that in light of this decision, which came from him to kill an endorsement of Kamala Harris that was already prepared. It is something that could happen. That is a downside of billionaires owning news organizations, I would say, whether it's happened or not up to now.
John Alsop, fascinating conversation, certainly a healthy debate. We appreciate you coming here. Thank you.
Thank you.
On Tuesday, a state judge in California sentenced the man who broke into the home of former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and attacked her husband with a hammer. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. David DePape was caught on police body cam video in October 2022 attacking Paul Pelosi, violently hitting the then 82-year-old with a hammer. Pelosi spent weeks recovering in the hospital with injuries to his head and neck. DePape is already serving 30 years on federal charges related to the attack.
Time for forecast now. Some severe storms are heightening chances for tornadoes across the plains today. For more, let's get your morning news now weather.
Angie Lastman's here. Angie, good morning.
Hi, good morning, guys. We've been kind of dealing with this lull in weather across the country, quiet conditions for basically the past week or so. Today, we're ramping that up. We've got a storm system that's working across the country. It's going to bring the chance for, as you said, some of those stronger storms to develop as the day goes on and we get into the evening hours, too. Here's what we're talking about, stretching from parts of the Midwest down to the plains. We do have that risk for tornadoes. I'll show you a little bit closer of exactly where we're expecting that here in a moment. But as we look ahead to tomorrow, of course, Halloween, we've still got kind of that active pattern setting up right ahead of that front as it works to the east. So some showers, some thunderstorms from the Great Lakes stretching down to the Gulf Coast will be possible for your Halloween forecast. Now, today, this is the specific area that we're going to watch. Essentially from Dallas up into portions of southern Iowa is where we have the best chance to see some of the stronger storms develop. Now, where you see this orange, though, that's where we have an even better chance, an enhanced risk for some of those stronger storms to happen. And specifically, we're looking for the potential for the hail and the wind, but also some of those larger tornadoes, the EF2s or greater. We've got all the ingredients there. We know it's been quite warm across this area. We've got a little bit of that instability that's going to work across ahead of that front. So no surprise if we see some of those thunderstorms bringing us those impacts. That's something we'll have to watch into the afternoon and even into the evening hours, too. On top of that, we'll see a setup of some good rain happening across parts of the Midwest. Notice Green Bay, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, stretching down to Des Moines, Davenport, all could see the potential for 1 to 2, even up to 3 inches of rain. So we'll watch for that through the day today. And I mentioned those warm and kind of uncomfortably warm conditions for late October. Those are sticking with us. We've got more record warmth today. Some spots will at least be near record. Washington, D.C. expected to hit 79 degrees. We'll head to the 80s for Indianapolis. Even tomorrow, most of that is centered across the Northeast as that front works to the east. Still out ahead of it, upper 70s to low 80s, temperatures that are not typical for this time of year. But then we really see those take a tumble as we got into the weekend. Upper 70s in New York on Friday, but look what happens by Saturday, 58 degrees. We've got the marathon here happening on Sunday. It'll be 61. Even across parts of Indianapolis and Detroit, we'll round out our work week with temperatures into the mid-50s. And then we've got a spooktacular forecast for you across the east, guys, for Halloween. That's your trick-or-treat forecast. The rain, it's going to put a little bit of a damper on folks' plans from the Gulf Coast to the Great Lakes. But otherwise, we've got Tombstone, Arizona at 66 degrees.
Now look at these, Casper.
Spooky.
You practiced that, didn't you?
I should have.
It was great. It was perfect.
Always count on you guys.
That's fun. Angie, thank you so much. See you in a bit.
All right, we've got much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, hungry for a workout, the new research linking exercise and your appetites.
But first, after the break, the Middle East on edge after Israel's latest deadly strike on Gaza. Now the White House working to end the violence. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We turn now to the conflict in the Middle East, where Israeli airstrikes in both Gaza and Lebanon on Tuesday left more than 90 people dead and dozens injured. A deadly airstrike in the northern Gaza Strip prompted criticism from the Biden administration, with State Department spokesman Matthew Miller calling the attack a, quote, horrifying incident with a horrifying result. This, as two senior Biden advisors are reportedly in talks to negotiate an end to the war in Lebanon. NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez joins us from Tel Aviv with the very latest. Raf, good morning.
Savannah, good morning. There is growing optimism here in Israel about the possibility of a deal to end the fighting in Lebanon, but Gaza is another story. Ceasefire talks are continuing, but so far without a breakthrough. And inside the Strip, we are seeing growing bloodshed from Israeli airstrikes, especially in the north. Grief echoing across northern Gaza after an Israeli airstrike leveled an apartment building, killing at least 93 people, including 25 children, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. My grandkids are gone, my girls are gone, everyone is gone, this man says. What was once a neighborhood, now a canyon of destruction. The dead laid out in rows in ashen streets or buried beneath the rubble. And the wounded rushed to overwhelmed hospitals where staff and medical supplies are exhausted. It's the deadliest strike in Gaza in months. The IDF says it's investigating and makes efforts to avoid harming civilians. The U.S. warning aid to Gaza under threat from new Israeli laws restricting the UN relief agency, UNRWA. Israel calls UNRWA a Hamas front and says several of its staff took part in the October 7th attack. But the U.S. says UNRWA is vital to the aid effort and that Israel must stop blocking food getting to northern Gaza.
The United States rejects any Israeli efforts to starve Palestinians in Jabalia or anywhere else.
And 1 month after the killing of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah in Lebanon, the militant group naming Naim Qassem as his successor. NBC's Matt Bradley met him 6 months ago. We didn't expect the war would last this long because we didn't think Netanyahu was that foolish, he said at the time. Since then, Israel has launched a ground invasion of Lebanon, targeting Hezbollah. A long war with no end in sight.
And Israel's defense minister is already hinting at plans to assassinate the new Hezbollah chief, calling him a temporary appointment who won't be in his post for long. And remember, in the last 3 months, Israel has killed the longtime leaders of not just Hezbollah, but also Hamas. Savannah.
And Raf, you also have reporting that indicates 2 senior advisors to Biden are expected to arrive in Israel tomorrow to try to close that deal to end the war in Lebanon. Specifically, what more can you tell us?
Yeah, that's right. We're expecting Brett McGurk, who's the senior Middle East official on the National Security Council, and Amos Hochstein, who is President Biden's kind of troubleshooter in Lebanon, to be here in Israel tomorrow, meeting with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And the American theory of the case is that Israel has made pretty significant gains against Hezbollah in Lebanon over the last months or so, killing Nasrallah, seriously reducing Hezbollah's arsenal. And a source familiar with the matter tells me that inside of the Israeli security establishment, there's a feeling that they want to quit while they're ahead. The question is whether Hezbollah is open to a truce at this point. Savannah.
All right, Raf Sanchez, thank you very much.
Put your brooms away. The Yankees defeated the Dodgers last night 11-4, avoiding a sweep and staying alive in the World Series. The Dodgers now lead the best-of-7 battle 3-1. Baseball fans on both coasts have been glued to the games here. On the other side of the world, America's pastime is also drawing record viewership.
That's thanks in large part to Dodgers superstar Shohei Ohtani. He's become something of a national hero back in his home country of Japan, where baseball is like a religion. Saturday's Game 2 drew 15.9 million average viewers in Japan. That's even more than here in the U.S.
That's saying something. NBC News International correspondent Janice Mackey-Freyer has traveled to Japan to meet with Ohtani's hometown fans. She joins us now from Hanamaki City. Janice, good to have you with us. So Game 4 aired last night here in the U.S. That would be Wednesday morning in Japan, as you know quite well. Ohtani and the Dodgers do need one more win to clinch the series. They didn't get it last night or this morning where you are. What's the energy been like?
Well, people here are pretty confident that the LA Dodgers are going to secure that World Series title. We spoke with one super fan earlier today. He has 3,000 pieces of Shohei Ohtani memorabilia. And he was saying that Game 4 Yankees win, that was a gift to you in New York. There is no way to exaggerate Ohtani's status here across Japan, and particularly in this Owati area, where he played for the high school baseball team that would be his path to the major leagues. They've been organizing watch parties, usually over breakfast because the games are happening at 9 o'clock in the morning. And they're really rallying behind him and cheering him on the way that a family cheers on a son. Baseball is a national pastime here in Japan as much as it is in the United States, and Shohei Ohtani is their hero.
We understand his baseball stardom has sort of transformed his hometown. Tell us more about that.
Well, we're in Hanamaki, which is where Ohtani went to high school. He was part of this special baseball training program. And he grew up in Oshu, which is about 30 minutes away. So we've been shuttling between the two towns to talk to people. So we've been doing the Ohtani pilgrimage, basically. And what we've seen are a lot of displays, a lot of posters declaring that he is a hero. His face is on bottles of green tea. People have been wearing their Dodgers gear and carrying the inflatable Bam Bams. And this is a very rural place. We are far from the lights of any big city, and he's really brought a sense of identity for people here. If you go to the town hall, there's an iron cast of his actual hand that's been made with a 3D printer, and it's sticking out of a cabinet, and you can go and shake his hand. So people really are looking to him as an icon. We met one elderly couple today. They're in their 70s. They were wearing their matching Dodgers jerseys that they got in Los Angeles when they went there last summer to see Ohtani play for real. And the gentleman said to me, he said, you know, even at my age, I'm in awe of what this young player has brought to the game. And he added that he was almost grateful for the amount of good news that he's been generating for Japan. Guys.
How fun for them. All right, Janice, so cool. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Turning to the game itself, things did get intense. An incident involving 2 Yankee fans and a Dodger outfielder overshadowed the early stages of last night's contest. It was the bottom of the first inning. The Yankees' Gleyber Torres hit a pop-up that drifted toward the stands in right field. Now, after making the play along the wall, a fan actually pried the foul ball out of the glove of Dodgers all-star right fielder Mookie Betts. The fan next to him then grabbed Betts' non-glove hand. The umpire ruled Torres out due to fan interference. The 2 fans were ejected from the game. In an interview with ESPN after the game, one of the fans actually defended their action, telling the network, "We're not going to go out of our way to attack. If it's in our area, we're going to defend their area and knock the ball free." Game 5 of the World Series is tonight in the Bronx. FYI, that's not how that works when you go to the game.
I was actually watching, and it was crazy. It also looked like it could have hurt him. I mean, he was like being held by his wrist.
It's dangerous, so don't do that. All right.
Yeah. All right. Coming up, if you're looking for a reason to stay in bed this morning, we got you.
When we come back in our weekly checkup, the new study that shows how important sleep is for your brain. This is Morning News Now.
Welcome back. It's time now for our weekly medical checkup. This week, we're looking at new research on how the pressures of masculinity could impact men's heart health. Plus, an intense workout may be just what you need to help curb your appetite. NBC News medical fellow Dr. Akshay Syal joins us to discuss the latest health headlines that you might have missed. Dr. Syal, always great to have you with us. Good morning. So our first study, this is about gender norms, the impacts it can have on your heart. It was led by researchers at the University of Chicago, and it found that societal pressures of masculinity might contribute to men not seeking treatment for heart disease. I mean, that's pretty intense. What are the attitudes that lead to this? How common is it? And what should we do about it?
Good morning, Savannah. You know, we've all heard that men are less likely to go to a doctor, and this study's sort of looking at expanding on that and looking for reasons why. So, you know, 75% of people with risk factors for heart health overall don't actually know about the risk factors. Men are less likely to get diagnosed and treated, as I was saying. And so, Savannah, this study out of the University of Chicago essentially was a large survey, and they had men sort of answer questions about, you know, things that make them more likely to be, or more stereotypical men things like, have you ever been arrested? Do you play video games? Those sort of things, dude stuff, as they say. And, you know, they found that people who score higher on those things are actually less likely to get both diagnosed and treated for heart disease. So really, really important message for the men out there, especially as we are on the eve, Savannah, of Men's Health Month, November 1st being, you know, the start of it. And so doctor's orders here for those watching, you know, for the men out there, make sure you are getting your annual checkups at least once a year, checking in with your doctors. And for all the women out there who have important men in their lives, don't be afraid to nudge them. You know, as a doctor, some of the most common reasons I hear from men coming in are, in fact, you know, people saying that my girlfriend wanted me to come in, my wife wanted me to come in. So don't be afraid to nudge them a little bit and get them to see their doctor at least once a year.
Really good advice there. Now you can see that on your screen. Dr. Syal, let's switch gears here. A new study. It's a subject near and dear to my heart as a morning news anchor. It's about sleep, and it looks at why we should make this a priority. It revealed that poor sleep, you know, I think we hear all the time about specific effects of this, everything from it can mean weight gain to obviously make it difficult to concentrate. But this is a big one. It could speed up brain aging. Explain what exactly brain aging is, what that means for us, and how you can know if you're getting that good enough sleep.
Right, Savannah. All those things that you just pointed out have been linked to poor sleep quality, and this is sort of building on that. This is a study out of UCSF, really looking at the association between trouble staying asleep and trouble going to sleep, meaning insomnia. Right? Are you laying in bed, tossing and turning? Are you waking up hours before you should? Especially if that is done over a period of 5 years. What they found, Savannah, is that really the lack of sleep here is associated with brain shrinkage, atrophy of the brain, as we call it. Certain parts of the brain get smaller than normal, and really important findings here, and something that is been replicated over previous studies. So the doctor's orders here, Savannah, buy a sleep tracker. Really important ones out there. The Apple Watch also announcing sleep apnea detection. Keep it dark and cool. You want to keep the temperature about 65 to 68 degrees in the bedroom for best sleep.
Wow, that is quite chilly. So that is so important for me to have it be cold in order to sleep. And same with cool. Like I even if I try to get water in the middle of the night, I try to do it in the dark because it can impact you waking up and getting out of that kind of good sleep moment. Let's talk about fitness now. Okay, another one where we talk a lot about the different types of benefits. Of course, it's good if you're working out. Of course, it's good if you're taking care of yourself in that way. We know it can be super beneficial, but now a new study found specifically that rigorous exercise could help curb your appetite. How intense are we talking, and is this a surprise? Is this new?
It's not surprising, Savannah, but essentially what they found, there's a hormone out there called ghrelin that essentially controls appetite. And what they found that, in women particularly who do more vigorous exercise, meaning more, sprinting and jogging and running, people who tend to do that form of exercise have lower levels of that hunger hormone and as a result have a suppressed appetite. So really the doctor's orders here, Savannah, this morning, don't be afraid to mix it up. And I think the best advice I can give is if you are going for a walk, don't be afraid to incorporate a little sprint there, a little high intensity sprint. And don't overdo it. Listen to your body. You don't want to put too much stress on your heart or your lungs if you are somebody who has chronic conditions. But it is okay to mix it up a little bit and incorporate some of that high intensity exercise.
All right, Dr. Akshay Syal, good stuff this morning. Thank you. Coming up, it's the most frightening time of the year. That's right, Halloween is tomorrow, so we're getting in the spirit of spooky season with a few movie recommendations. We'll go over the classics like Beetlejuice, but also some frightening new flicks. You're watching Morning News Now. We're back now with some financial headlines. Shares of Google's parent company Alphabet rose just after the company said its AI investments were paying off. CNBC's Silvana Henao joins us with that and more. Hey, Silvana, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning to you. Yeah, so as you mentioned, shares of Google parent Alphabet are on the rise after the company reported better than expected quarterly results last night. Now, Alphabet is starting to show its expensive move into artificial intelligence is paying off as it saw strong numbers from its cloud computing business and more usage of its flagship search engine, which now has integrated Google's Gemini AI. Now, Google is drawing more cloud customers using its AI expertise to gain ground on larger rivals like Amazon and Microsoft. Meanwhile, Starbucks is dropping its much-hyped lineup of olive oil-infused coffee. The announcement coming less than a week after new CEO Brian Niccol vowed to shake up Starbucks' menu in a bid to win back customers. Starbucks rolled out the Oleato drinks in North America last year after they were initially sold in Italy. They were created by founder and former CEO Howard Schultz, who says he came up with the idea after visiting olive groves in Sicily. But the drinks were met with mixed reaction, with some customers complaining of stomach problems. And more than half of adults say they made at least one unplanned or impulse buy during the holiday season last year. A new Bankrate survey finds family members were the most popular recipient of these purchases, followed by people buying for themselves, for friends, for acquaintances. The most common explanation was it was a good deal or the item was on sale.
I mean, yeah, you're out there looking for the sales. Of course, you're going to buy something not on the list. If you don't, are you normal? Right. Thank you so much. All right, Halloween is tomorrow. Sad we're going to have to stop using that graphic. Here's a fun fact. Horror is one of the most watched movie genres in the U.S. So to help get us in the spooky spirit this morning, we're going to take a look at some of the most popular scary movies. Let's bring in the expert, Eric Davis. He's the managing editor at Fandango. He joins us now with the latest and also just the greatest generally when it comes to horror movies. Eric, good morning. Always great to have you with us. This is so exciting. Tomorrow's Halloween. Let's start with new horror movies, things that are out in theaters right now. What are fans loving?
Yeah, so I'm going to recommend Smile 2. This is a follow-up to the hit horror film Smile, and it's a bit of an unexpected sequel in that it doesn't just play the hits of the first one. Also, it's very scary. I believe that's why it's certified fresh at Rotten Tomatoes right now. Coming out next week is a film called Heretic, starring Hugh Grant, which is a bit of a religious-themed psychological thriller, very different. We don't normally get that. And I should mention, if you're looking to save some money going to the movies this Halloween because you spent it all on the candy and the costumes, you get 2 free movie tickets right now if you sign up for Fandango's new subscription program, Fan Club.
There you go. They're talking about deals just a second ago. Love it. What about streaming? Let's say you really want to save money, just stay at home. Which scary movies are generating the most buzz that you can watch there?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you to do what I just did with my family. We did a binge of Beetlejuice and Beetlejuice. The sequel is now available to watch at home. My daughter will only watch horror movies starring Jenna Ortega, and so that's why we did that one. Also, Speak No Evil is a really great psychological thriller starring James McAvoy. That is a bit of a slow burn. Highly recommend. And The Substance, if you've been hearing a lot about that Demi Moore horror movie, it's a body horror film. Really well done. I think it's one of Demi Moore's best roles of her career. Could even be an awards contender.
Wow, an awards contender. I have heard that, quite a bit about that. I think that might be my watch tomorrow. Okay, let's though talk about classics. Are there any old horror movies that maybe are being re-released or are back in the conversation right now for this season in theaters?
Yeah, there's a couple of them out there. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is celebrating its 50th anniversary, so that's out. You also have Hocus Pocus. But I'll be honest with you, Savannah, I'm going with The Nightmare Before Christmas. I love this film. The music, the story is really lovely. Also, it makes you kind of get in the spirit of Halloween, but it also tees up Christmas, too, which we're all going to be talking about nonstop coming November 1st. So I'm going to say watch The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay. Oh, I love that plan. And obviously, Hocus Pocus was on the screen, a must-see. I completely agree. Starting Friday is Christmas time, by the way, so I love that you're on that train. I know you've said that indie horror is having a moment this year. What exactly classifies a scary movie as an indie, and what are your favorites?
Yeah, I'm looking at the budget. Like, I look at a film like Terrifier 3, which is in theaters right now, made for a couple of $1 million, and it's doing really well because it has a really large fan base. You look at a film like Longlegs, which came out over the summer starring Nicolas Cage, or Strange Darling, which is another film that a lot of people are buzzing about. You know, and that's why I think horror is so popular right now, is because you can make films for a very low budget that are super scary. The original Halloween, shoestring budget, one of the scariest movies of all time. And then you can make a lot of profit on it at the box office. And that's why I think horror is one of the more versatile genres right now. And it's a good place to invest as well in that genre.
Love it. Since tomorrow is Halloween, this year's most popular costume was inspired by Beetlejuice. That there is our senior producer, Anna, and that next to her is her husband, Chandler, our fabulous editor, shooter, all the things, though you can't tell it's Chandler. Which character took this top spot here? Because it's not the man himself, Beetlejuice.
Yeah, it's the Bob, right?
Yeah.
The tiny
it's the
head.
Chandler one, yes.
Yeah, you know, and that was a character that sort of had a little blinking and miss it moment in the first one, but is a really big character in the second Beetlejuice film, and now it has a costume. And so, of course, it's one of the more popular films that came out this fall. There's a costume there for it, and it does not surprise me to see the Bobs as a popular Halloween costume.
Chandler killed it. I love it so much. Chandler killed it. No pun intended. Eric Davis, thank you very much. Wonderful to have you with us, and happy Halloween and Merry almost Christmas, I guess.
Happy Halloween, Savannah.
Coming up, a historic restoration and an emotional return. Japanese-American players now back on a World War II-era baseball field, decades after some of their family members played there. Stay with us. This is Morning News Now. Welcome back. While the World Series enthralls fans here in the U.S., there's another baseball game that's making history with the help of Japanese-American players restoring a historic field in California for the first time in decades.
Some of them with family members who played on the very same field. NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda was there for their emotional return.
Baseball hasn't been played on this dusty stretch of California desert in some 80 years. But this month marked its touching and triumphant return. Performing artist Dan Kwong spearheaded a push to restore the baseball field at this former Japanese incarceration camp in Manzanar, now a National Historic Site.
I think of all the spirits who played on this field,
including his mother. She was among the more than 125,000 incarcerated during World War II, seen as a security threat. Innocent Japanese-American families lost their homes, businesses, and most of their belongings. But baseball was one thing they got to keep.
There's a quote on the sign over there, putting on a baseball uniform was like wearing the American flag. The way the Japanese-American community responded was, we're going to live life. We're going to build gardens. We're going to make music. We're going to play baseball.
After months of sawing and sanding, the commemorative doubleheader drew athletes spanning 3 generations. 23-year-old Logan Morita was the first player up to bat, following in the footsteps of his family and Japanese Americans from years before.
It's honestly like a surreal experience to be at a place where my grandparents and great-grandparents played at.
Kwong hopes this can be an annual tradition, but for now, he's thinking of his mother on this field of dreams finally realized.
How was that?
That was amazing. Go show! Every now and then I'd stop and look at the mountains and think about where I was. It was very, very special.
Emily Ikeda, NBC News, Manzanar, California.
See, there's a field of dreams in California, too. That was beautiful.
Really was.
It's going to do it for this hour of morning news now.
Stay with us, though. The news continues right now.
Right now on Morning News Now, campaign split screen with less than a week to go until Election Day. Vice President Harris delivering her closing argument from the same spot where former President Trump rallied supporters before the January 6th Capitol attack.
This is someone who is unstable, obsessed with revenge, consumed with grievance, and out for unchecked power.
The former president trying to cool things down after a comedian's racist comments about Puerto Rico and Latinos.
Nobody loves our Latino community and our Puerto Rican community more than I do. Nobody. You know, it's interesting because I've done more for Puerto Rico than any president by far.
We've got team coverage from the campaign trail as both candidates make their final pitches to voters. Also this morning, terror in Atlanta. A gunman barricades himself in a building after opening fire and throwing a weapon off a 33rd floor balcony. Terrifying scene playing out in one of Atlanta's most popular neighborhoods. How police were able to take the suspect into custody and why officers say it could have been worse. Plus, the Menendez brothers could be one step closer to freedom after asking California's governor for clemency. The move comes as the notorious mansion where the brothers murdered their parents becomes a tourist hotspot. Now neighbors say they're fed up how police are responding. Call it a blast from the past. Old school retail catalogs are back in a big way. But business experts say it's about more than just nostalgia, why some big brands are now turning to the past to help reshape their future. When I was a kid, I loved when the JCPenney catalog showed up and I could go through it and pick out my favorite toys, skip the clothes, but the toys were the best part.
Yeah, I agree with that. And now somehow, even though I don't think I'm signed up for them, to the point of this story, I'm getting them for clothes, which is, you know, oh, I'll take that.
There you go. Yeah. They don't really fit in the mailbox very easily.
They do not. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. As you probably know, we are now less than a week from Election Day, and both Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump are making their final arguments to undecided voters in battleground states.
Yeah, the vice president is expected to visit 5 swing states over the next couple days. Last night, she delivered her closing pitch in Washington, D.C. in the same spot Mr. Trump held his infamous January 6th rally that preceded the Capitol riot. She told the crowd that her rival was a threat to the country. As for former President Trump, he's planning to spend the day stumping in the critical swing state of Pennsylvania. It comes as Mr. Trump seizes on new comments from President Biden that appeared to insult his supporters. We've got a team standing by to talk about all this and more. We're going to kick things off with NBC News Chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander, who's in Milwaukee with the latest from the campaign trail. Hi, Peter. Good morning.
Hey, Joe and Savannah, good morning to both of you from a blustery Milwaukee. We were there last night, and this was an enormous crowd. A law enforcement official estimating roughly 60,000 people. The Harris campaign said it was more than 75,000. Either way, it was the largest of the Harris campaign. The vice president speaking, as you noted, with the White House as her backdrop from that very same location where Donald Trump urged his supporters to march to the Capitol ahead of the riots nearly 4 years ago on January 6th. But it is a potential unforced error from President Joe Biden that threatens to undercut part of her message.
Vice President Harris delivering her closing argument against Donald Trump.
Nearly 250 years ago, America was born when we wrested freedom from a petty tyrant. Across the generations, Americans have preserved that freedom. They didn't do that only to see us submit to the will of another petty tyrant. These United States of America, we are not a vessel for the schemes of wannabe dictators.
Urging Americans to turn the page while laying out her own policy plans on the economy, health care, and reproductive rights, promising to be a unifying president.
Unlike Donald Trump, I don't believe people who disagree with me are the enemy.
And distancing herself from President Biden.
My presidency will be different because the challenges we face are different.
But just before she spoke, the president potentially handing her opponent fresh fodder, responding to this offensive comment made at Trump's Madison Square Garden rally on Sunday.
There's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah, I think it's called Puerto Rico.
President Biden on a Zoom with Latino groups.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable.
Trump quick to pounce, responding mid-rally, comparing the comments to Hillary Clinton's infamous 2016 denouncement of Trump supporters as deplorables.
That's terrible. Remember Hillary? She said deplorable. That didn't work out. Garbage, I think, is worse, right? Please forgive him, for he not knoweth what he said.
The White House said Biden was referring to the rally rhetoric as garbage, releasing a transcript showing supporters as singular, as if to refer to the comedian. Later in the evening, the president writing on social media, I referred to the hateful rhetoric about Puerto Rico spewed by Trump's supporter at his Madison Square Garden rally as garbage, which is the only word I can think of to describe it. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable. That's all I meant to say. It comes as Trump is still battling his own political firestorm over the comments. His campaign, concerned they could hurt him with Latino voters, no longer shrugging them off.
I don't want anybody making nasty jokes or stupid jokes. I mean, probably he shouldn't have been there, yeah.
Meanwhile, former Trump rival turned endorser Nikki Haley sharply criticizing the rally.
They need to go and tell Puerto Ricans how much, they do value them, but they also need to look at how they're talking about women. That is not the way to win women. That is not the way to win people who are concerned about Trump style.
Former President Trump is going to campaign in North Carolina today before finishing up right here in the key battleground state of Wisconsin. Vice President Harris is going to hit 5 swing states of the 7 key battlegrounds over the next frenetic 48 hours, including a stop in Las Vegas, Nevada tomorrow, alongside Puerto Rican superstar Jennifer Lopez. Back to you guys.
All right, Peter, thank you so much. Well, turning now to Ohio, where Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown is fighting against the tide to keep his seat in a state that's seen growing support for Republicans.
The state has not voted for a Democratic presidential candidate since Barack Obama won in 2012. Polls show Mr. Trump with a slight lead against Harris there, according to Real Clear Politics. But the race for Senate is even closer, with Senator Brown now neck and neck against Republican candidate, former luxury car dealer Bernie Moreno. NBC News correspondent Ali Vitale joins us now from Canfield, Ohio. Ali, so Senator Brown has managed to keep his seat in Ohio for 2 decades, despite the state trending more red with each election. Why is this year's election possibly his biggest test yet?
Because you guys remember, Ohio used to be sort of the ultimate swing state, and now in the Trump era, it is squarely in the Republican column. That's what Sherrod Brown is running against, the dynamics here on the ground in a pro-Trump state. But he also has a proven path where he's kind of done this before. You talk about in 2012 when Ohio went blue for the last time. Obama only won here by 3 points. Sherrod Brown in that first election managed to win by double that. That 6-point margin is one that he's been able to maintain even in his last re-election in 2018. I remember when I was covering it on the ground here then, the idea was that his personality and his credentials on the ground here as a pro-worker, pro-union kind of senator were the thing that could push him over the partisan politics. It worked then. The question is if it'll work now.
So Vice President Harris and Governor Walz haven't been out campaigning in Ohio. Is Brown concerned at all about the impact from the top of the ticket? And what does he think he needs to do in order to win this time?
You know what, that's probably ideal for Senator Brown because he doesn't want to talk about Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Tim Walz, or really any other national figure. I asked him a few different ways about policy ideas that each of these presidential candidates have espoused, whether it's Trump on tariffs or Kamala Harris on the way that she's talked about the former president as a fascist. Brown repeatedly shut me down, saying he's not paying attention in that way to the presidential race, doesn't want to comment on it. And even when I asked about the path to victory in terms of margins here in the state, how close does it have to be at the presidential level for you to have a chance? Listen to what he told me about that. I've seen some reporting that you've told people as long as Kamala Harris keeps it within 8.
That was an accurate reporting.
Is there a margin?
No, I'm not sitting up at night thinking, well, if Kamala does this or if
Joe
Biden
but you know
does
this
it. No, I do. But I know that I know what I need to do to win. I need to do what I've done my whole career, and that is stand up for workers.
And that pro-worker, pro-union message that Sherrod Brown is talking about there is exactly the one he was pitching last night when we were with him at a Teamsters town hall in Youngstown. That's an area, the Mahoning Valley, used to be blue for quite a while. Trump, though, really managed to come in and turn that area red. Sherrod Brown still believes that it's ticket splitters there, folks who want to vote for Trump but who also know him well, that could be the difference in his key Senate race.
Of course, worth noting, Allie, the other senator from Ohio is former President Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance. What else about the Trump ticket seems to be appealing to voters there and could give Moreno a chance to win?
That's exactly right. I mean, J.D. Vance, I think about as the next step in Trump's path through Ohio. I was on the Trump campaign following it in 2015 and 2016, sort of a front row seat to watching the way that he was appealing in this state with that kind of a message that was focused around grievance politics, but also a populist economic message that did appeal to workers in areas like this one where they've seen factory closures. They've watched companies sort of come in and then leave and go to greener pastures, even in other countries. That's something that Trump was able to ride to the White House in 2016, of course, in 2020. But it's also that same kind of message on the economy and on workers that Sherrod Brown has been so focused on. For J.D. Vance, the other side of the coin, though, is being able to ride that pro-Trump wave. I met a lot of people yesterday who were voting whatever party they were voting all the way down their ticket. That was true for Trump supporters who were voting for Bernie Moreno. It was also true for Democrats who were voting Kamala Harris and for Sherrod Brown. But you're going to need the crossover, not just for Brown here in Ohio, but this could be the key factor in deciding control of the Senate, too.
Yeah, super interesting and important to keep an eye on these down-ballot races. Allie, thank you so much.
If you are one of the tens of millions who have already voted, you may have seen signs near your polling location that says no electioneering within a certain distance from a site. That's when people campaign on behalf of an issue or person on the ballot, and it sometimes leads to conflict. As reporter Mark Maxwell of our St. Louis affiliate KSDK shows us, one such incident was caught on camera over a referendum that seeks to overturn Missouri's abortion ban, which is one of the strictest in the nation.
Passion at the polls.
I love this country, and you don't have the right to manipulate people as they're in line trying to vote.
The law says 25 feet from the door. A bitter fight to overturn the nation's most restrictive abortion ban came right down to the doorstep.
You don't need manipulating people while they're trying to do their legal right to vote without disrupting people, and you're disrupting people.
Can you tell me why you're so annoyed?
Because I don't believe in what you're believing in.
Is he being respectful to me?
You're not being respectful. You're sharing your opinion on your information to people that are trying to vote. And you don't have the right to do that. You have the right to do it out there.
My rights are to be 25 feet away from the door.
That is my understanding. That's what they came out when they were out here. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And they asked you to leave.
That's not true.
All the commotion caught this woman's attention.
But I'm just curious, what is your intention? I'm just trying to get out information. What type of information? Information about the language of Amendment 3. Amendment 3 was not something that I actually understood in great detail. But I am actually reading the literature here, and this is what alarmed me.
She was alarmed by inflammatory claims in Julie Lieber's anti-abortion materials.
Anyone who assists cannot be held liable or accountable for any harm that's done.
When Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft made that argument, courts ruled the claim was inaccurate and the amendment had no such effect.
Well, if this is not accurate, then I'm not understanding how this literature was able to be distributed.
Lax Missouri electioneering laws allow vigorous campaigning right up until the last 25 feet before you walk in the door.
I think it needs to be 50 feet or 100 feet away.
Our thanks to Mark Maxwell for that report. In St. Louis County, where that polling site is located, nearly 100,000 people have so far taken part in early voting.
Well, getting Americans to cast their vote for president is only half the battle. As we were just discussing a moment ago with Ali Vitale, voting in races lower down on the ballot also important, especially when it comes to determining the balance of power in Congress. NBC's Bree Jackson gives us a closer look at a new tool that could help you make more informed decisions on those lesser talked about down-ballot races.
All eyes on the top of the ticket in this razor-thin race between Vice President Harris and former President Trump.
Are you ready to make your voices heard?
You've been waiting for this so long. Get out and vote.
But how Americans vote in other races could determine how easily the next president's promises made on the campaign trail can be pushed through Congress.
So those down-ballot races are important not only for broader support for the party and the general party's candidate, but also for thinking about governing moving forward.
This year, there are 34 Senate seats and all of the House up for grabs, with bitter battles for control of the upper chamber playing out in states like Ohio, Maryland, and Montana. Also on the ballot, hot-button issues.
Things like access to abortion and reproductive rights. 9 states have ballot initiatives on the ballot that would expand or protect abortion and reproductive rights at the state level.
With power in Congress and issues that matter most to Americans at stake, there are efforts to ensure voters are informed.
We don't tell people who to vote for, but we put the information there so that people can make a decision with extra information and feel really good about the decision they're making.
Shaniqua McClendon is with Vote Save America. Their Build Your Own Ballot tool allows users to put in their address and view summaries of federal, local, and judicial contests, as well as high-stakes measures. While you cannot use it to vote online, it does serve as a sample of what to expect.
So statewide ballot initiatives, those are written in really complex legal terminology, and we go through all of those and just break them down in plain English and say what a yes vote means, what a no vote means.
And helps address growing concerns about the spread of misinformation.
Being able to go to a trusted source where you can just get straight information is really important.
All of it important to casting your ballot and having a say in your future.
To only vote on the people in Washington will never provide a complete picture of the world you could have, and having, as many people as possible who align with your beliefs in elected office.
From the top to the bottom of the ticket, your vote matters. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
Let's take a look at one of the key issues for voters as they head to the ballot box. New data from the Conference Board shows consumers are feeling more optimistic about the economy despite fewer job openings.
The Consumer Confidence Index for October rose more than 11%. That is the biggest one-month gain since March 2021. Another new job number, job openings fell by more than 400,000 in September.
NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans joins us to help make sense of these numbers. Hi, Christine. Great to have you here. So I feel like we've asked a lot about disconnect between the economy and some hard numbers we have, and then sentiment. This almost feels like the opposite, maybe actually some more positive sentiment despite that number. But walk us through what we're seeing.
It's a positive number, and you saw those job openings fall, but there still are a lot of job openings, and that's what this Conference Board survey found, that consumers were saying, hey, we feel good about business conditions, we feel good about jobs and the availability of jobs, we feel good overall about just the business environment right now, and they're looking forward to next year where they expect the stock market to continue to rise. So they're just feeling a little bit better about things. And I think it's so interesting to watch this. Their inflation expectations also, they're thinking that the worst of inflation is behind us, and they're starting to sort of normalize around a 2.4% inflation rate, you know, which price levels are still too high, but they're at least recognizing that line in terms of their effect on their budgets.
So help us understand here. Confidence is up, and yet every poll keeps telling us the top worry for people is inflation, is the economy. Help us understand.
It's a huge disconnect, and it has been for more than a year now. I mean, you look at The Economist magazine, it did a whole issue about, you know, the United States, the envy of the world. The International Monetary Fund just this week said the U.S. is the strongest economy in the rest of the world. I mean, so from the outside looking in, this is just a strong job market, a strong economy. But inside looking in, people are concerned about things like housing availability. If you own your home, you might feel very good about things. But if you're trying to buy a home, you don't, right? People are concerned about mortgage rates are falling, but they're still, you know, they're still 6.5% is detrimental to some people. You also have child care issues. That is still, there are some cornerstones of the American economy that aren't working for a lot of families. And child care is one of those. Elder care is one of those. Insurance prices is another one of those. So there are just some of these things that are kind of intractable for some families, even as all the top line numbers still look very, very good.
And you just did some incredible reporting on that child care piece out of New Mexico.
I did.
Looking at a program that is unique and seems to be working and impacting people's lives in a positive way. What did you learn, and how does something like that factor into the election?
So New Mexico, this bipartisan push to get quality health care, or child care rather, to families. Almost all families, 90% of families are eligible for free child care there. There's an oil and gas tax that they've diverted to pay for $150 million a year and to raise the wages of the people working in early childhood education. It's been incredibly successful. Is it a model for the rest of the country? Well, not every state has oil and gas tax revenue that you can divert. I mean, at some point, a lot of governments, state governments, are trying to figure out how they can grow their state economies by making sure that people have quality child care. That's incredibly important for young families who, for many families, child care is more expensive than in-state college tuition, and for a lot of them, it's more expensive than their rent or mortgage. So that keeps you out of the middle class.
And you said bipartisan.
It was 70% of voters agreed to do this. Wow. I mean, when there's agreement on something, you need to look at it and say, wow, there's agreement that child care needs to be quality and more affordable.
Yeah, and something for candidates to think about. It's something everybody's behind. Christine, thank you so much. Great to have you. We've got a lot more to get to this morning, including a SWAT standoff. A gunman opened fire and barricaded himself in an Atlanta high-rise. The drama playing out in the middle of one of the city's most popular neighborhoods, and how it all came to a close. That's up next.
More record highs possible today for half of the country. We'll take a peek at how long the warm weather sticks around and when the fall feel returns. That's coming up.
Welcome back. Break out your trick-or-treating baskets, but maybe not your coats in some parts of the country for a special spooky season forecast. It's time for your morning news. Now, weather.
Angie Lassman, who's going to speak to us in that spooky voice. Good morning.
Ooh, spooky, guys. Yeah, no, I'll retire that until later on. I'll get to the Halloween forecast, but for now, I will talk about those just ridiculously warm temperatures that we're gearing up for ahead of Halloween. And even today, we'll see today and tomorrow this continued surge of this warm air that's being dragged up from the Gulf of Mexico, leaving us with temperatures running way warm for this time of year, 10, 15, even 20, 25 degrees above where we should be. And notice the potential record highs that we're going to take a run at across this region, specifically the Great Lakes and parts of the Northeast. We've got Hartford, we've got Philadelphia, and this stretches into places like Cleveland, Detroit, Milwaukee, Green Bay. All of those locations could potentially break an afternoon record high either today or tomorrow. Here's what we're expecting for today. Saginaw, 80 degrees. Indianapolis, 80 degrees. Not quite a record record, but still close to it. We've got upper 70s for Pittsburgh and Washington, D.C., and even as far north as Burlington, upper 60s. These temperatures are not what you typically expect during this time of year, and we're going to start to slowly see them dial back, but not before we take another run at some records for tomorrow. Upper 70s in New York. We've got Buffalo at 76 degrees. That'll likely be a record for tomorrow. And even Morgantown ending up at 82 degrees. So warm conditions expected. More mild as we head closer to the weekend. We've got 60s for New York Saturday and Sunday. Boston will dip down to the mid-50s. In Detroit, Friday and Saturday, you'll be into those 50s with just a touch of warmer air working in by the time Sunday rolls around. Now, that cold front that's going to change up that weather pattern, it's also causing some problems in the middle of the country. We've got a chance for some of those stronger storms to develop with all that warm air. It's not going to be hard to see that happen. Even tomorrow for Halloween, unfortunately, the showers, the thunderstorms, they'll be active along that front. Today, though, the main concern is going to be right around that bullseye from Kansas City to Tulsa, where we could see a couple of those strong tornadoes and the potential for some strong winds and some hail. Meanwhile, the weekend, we'll watch for another Pacific storm, but otherwise, most of us are going to be dry. We'll have a couple of showers stretching from the Gulf Coast into parts of the Tennessee Valley, but otherwise, milder conditions. A whole lot of rain, though, works into the middle of the country for Saturday, and by Sunday, we'll see drier skies for the East Coast.
All right, we'll take it.
There wasn't enough spooky talking there. Andrew, thank you.
A 70-year-old man is in custody in Atlanta after police say he opened fire from a luxury high-rise apartment building, leading to a tense 6-hour standoff. NBC News correspondent Priya Sridhar is near the scene where it all happened. Priya, good morning.
Good morning. That's right. It all unfolded at a private apartment above the Four Seasons Hotel here in Midtown Atlanta. The suspected gunman opening fire during negotiations with police, allegedly firing at least one round from his balcony on the 33rd floor.
This morning in Atlanta, a man is in police custody after authorities say he opened fire inside and from the balcony of his luxury high-rise apartment. That apartment located above the Four Seasons Hotel in Midtown.
Can you see him?
This video appears to show the suspect throwing objects from the 33rd floor.
He's got a mask on.
Before allegedly grabbing a gun and beginning to shoot.
We did see at least one weapon thrown off of the balcony.
Police first received the call Tuesday morning for a mental health emergency in the hotel's private condos.
The officers arrived. We did learn that the individual may have had a handgun at the time that he was involved in an altercation with an employee of the Four Seasons.
Authorities say they attempted to negotiate with the suspect and learned he may have had other weapons, including a handgun, shotgun, and rifle.
The vast majority of those rounds were fired through walls of the apartment. They were fired through the door of the apartment, and at least one round was fired from the balcony.
This video shows the suspect wearing a gas mask and waving 2 American flags from the window. Authorities ultimately arrested 70-year-old Jay Stevens Berger, who was hospitalized and later charged with aggravated assault. One Atlanta police officer also suffered non-life-threatening injuries.
Near the end of this episode, he did wave his hands to give up.
And the Four Seasons Hotel telling NBC News overnight that it doesn't manage those private residences above the hotel, adding in a statement, "We're truly grateful for the swift response from the Atlanta Police Department, and the safety and security of both our employees and guests is our top priority." Guys.
All right, Priya, thank you.
Let's get to international headlines now. We're going to start in the Middle East, where the death toll is rising from 2 Israeli airstrikes in Gaza.
NBC's Claudio Lavanga has that and some other world news. Claudio, good morning.
Joseph, good morning. Well, that's right. Health authorities in Gaza say now that at least 93 people, including at least 20 children, were killed in those 2 Israeli airstrikes on Tuesday in the north of Gaza. Now, tens of wounded, including women and children, were taken to the nearby Kamal Adwan hospital, but its director said life-threatening injuries were going untreated because of the raid by Israeli soldiers over the weekend and the forced detention of dozens of doctors working there. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, Hezbollah named a new leader, former deputy Sheikh Naim Qassem. Let's move to Spain now, where authorities say at least 62 people have died and several others are missing after the south and east of the country were hit by severe flooding on Tuesday. In Valencia, one of the most affected cities, the water teared down walls and swept away parked cars. 12 inches of rain fell in just a few hours in parts of Spain on Tuesday, with authorities warning that heavy rain will continue throughout the end of the week. Spain's Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, asked citizens to avoid moving around if not necessary. And let's end this tour of the world in space, where a Chinese spacecraft with a 3-person crew has arrived at China's Tiangong space station after a 6-hour journey. Hundreds of people lined the streets near the satellite center in Ganzhou and waved and cheered as the taikonauts, that's China's word for astronauts, took off. They will remain on the space station for 6 months and conduct experiments and spacewalks ahead of China's mission of putting someone on the moon by 2030. Back to you guys.
All right. Wow, Claudia, thank you so much.
Coming up, renewed interest in the Menendez brothers case is bringing unwanted attention to their former neighborhood.
The new warning from police for tourists flocking to the infamous Beverly Hills mansion. That's up next. We are back with the latest on those efforts to free Lyle and Eric Menendez. Less than a week after the Los Angeles DA recommended resentencing for the brothers, their lawyer now says he is planning to ask Governor Gavin Newsom for clemency. The move comes as the Beverly Hills mansion, where the murders of their parents took place, is gaining popularity among tourists. NBC News Now anchor Gotti Schwartz joins us with the latest on this. Hi, Gotti. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Savannah. That's right. This cultural re-examining that we have of the circumstances which the Menendez brothers murdered their parents. Well, the house itself has now become a tourist destination, and you'll see sightseeing buses pulling up outside all day long as neighbors complain the visitors continue late into the night. This morning, new steps on the road to freedom for Lyle and Eric Menendez. The brothers' lawyer expected to file documents asking California Governor Gavin Newsom for clemency.
We're just very, very hopeful that we get them released.
No public comment yet from the governor. It comes days after the Los Angeles County District Attorney asked for a resentencing that would lead to their immediate parole. There's been a social media frenzy surrounding the case after several documentaries and a Ryan Murphy series on Netflix drew attention to alleged sexual abuse by the boy's father, Jose Menendez. All of it putting the former Menendez Beverly Hills mansion in the spotlight.
I wanted to come see the house now, where everything actually happened.
The site of the gruesome 1989 murders of Jose and Kitty Menendez by their sons has become a tourist attraction for locals and visitors from around the world.
It's been all over the news. All my friends have seen the show and the series, so I'm very curious on what's going to end up happening.
Videos giving close-up looks inside the home under renovations and surrounded by a makeshift fence going viral on TikTok.
I can give you guys a little peek inside the fence if you would like to see.
Amid an endless stream of selfie takers and sightseeing buses.
It's constant.
The attention unwelcome by some of the house's Beverly Hills neighbors.
At night, it bothers me as well as a lot of the other neighbors.
The Beverly Hills Police Department say they've responded to 18 trespassing and noise complaints around the home. That house, rented by celebrities including Elton John and Prince before the Menendezes moved in, was sold to new owners for $17 million in March. If and when they move in, the spectacle outside may persist as an unwanted reminder of the home's dark history. And the city of Beverly Hills told NBC in a statement they encourage the public to be mindful of local laws and respect the privacy of private property. As for the governor, earlier this week on the governor's podcast, Gavin Newsom said he had a meeting with the Netflix team ahead of the series premiere, got a heads up that there was going to be a lot of buzz over resentencing the brothers, so he was definitely prepared for all of this. And he says he's usually busy with pardons around this time of year as those holidays ramp up, but he's keeping his options open. Savannah?
All right, Gotti, thank you very much.
Tributes are pouring in this morning for Hollywood legend Terry Garr. Her career spanned 4 decades with offbeat roles in hit movies like Young Frankenstein and Tootsie. After she was diagnosed with MS, she became known for her commitment to helping others in their journey with the disease. Now she's being remembered for her work both on and off the screen.
Terry Garr always knew how to make audiences laugh. The beloved actress became a household name with her portrayal of Inga, the ditzy lab assistant to Gene Wilder's Dr. Frankenstein in the 1974 comedy classic Young Frankenstein.
Hello. Would you like to have a roll in the hay?
Soon she perfected what became her signature role of the often frazzled yet funny female, alongside John Denver in Oh God, and opposite Dustin Hoffman in the 1982 hit film Tootsie, playing his neurotic girlfriend Sandy.
I'm gonna tell you the truth, Sandy.
I'm in love with another woman.
That earned her an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Garr got her start as a background dancer in Elvis Presley films.
All right.
Years later, she'd go on to become one of Hollywood's most sought-after stars, with hits like Close Encounters of the Third Kind
Where are we going? In the car.
and Mr. Mom with a young Michael Keaton.
Good luck.
Throughout her career, she continued to bring the laughs as a frequent and favorite guest on Late Night with David Letterman.
You just can't show up and say, yeah, no, there. No, you got to.
But I can do it now because there's only about 8 people watching, right? Because it's real late now.
Terry.
And as Phoebe's mom on Friends.
I'm your mother.
But off-screen, Garr struggled for years with symptoms of what would later be diagnosed as multiple sclerosis. The actress detailed her health battle in her book, titled Speed Bumps.
I call it speed bumps because I figure that's what having MS or anything that you get that happens to you in life. You just sort of slow down and go over them and then keep going.
Garr did just that, speaking out about her own experience to help others. Through it all, she said, it was always her sense of humor that kept her going.
I think it's critical, sense of humor, don't you? And it really did help me. It does help me continuously because I make people laugh.
Garr's publicist confirms she died from complications of MS. She was 79 years old. We're also hearing from Dustin Hoffman, who, of course, was in Tootsie, saying she had a heart of gold and that there was no one like her. She really was just, she nailed, they called it the ditzy role, but people say she did it in the smartest way possible.
Yeah, I love that. What a great look back. God, and some of those co-stars you mentioned and you showed there, it's really cool to see. Coming up, calling it a catalog comeback just in time for the holidays.
After the break, why more major retailers are turning back the clock to reach out to a new generation of consumers. That's next on Morning News Now. Welcome back. As we head into the holiday season, retailers are tapping into nostalgia by reintroducing the joys of flipping through a catalog.
Yeah, if you've been receiving those handheld treasures in your mailbox lately, your eyes are not deceiving you. For the first time in years, the catalog is making a comeback. NBC News correspondent Emily Aketa joins us here on set with more. Hey, Emily, good morning.
Hey, guys, good morning to you. Some major retailers are going old school, not just reaching out to customers through their inboxes, but their mailboxes, too. And this isn't just a dose of nostalgia. The handheld catalogs serve as a tangible reminder of brands ahead of the important holiday season.
After years of digital marketing reigning supreme, for some retailers, old school catalogs are making a comeback.
Oh, catalogs. I love catalogs.
For the first time in 7 years, J.Crew is going retro with a 3 times a year catalog. The brand's men's creative director telling Esquire magazine, it feels like now's a really nice time to see something different and to touch something and flip through it and actually live with it because digital stuff is so fast.
I love catalog, and I specifically love a J.Crew catalog.
There truly is nothing better than print. Even e-commerce giant Amazon started sending out print catalogs in recent years. And it's not just a yearning for nostalgia that has brands going back to the printing press.
They're really just trying to use the catalog to sort of wet your whistle, to build some interest, to drive you to their website. They're more interest drivers. They're not necessarily order takers.
A Harvard Business Review experiment found a 49% jump in sales and 125% spike in inquiries from those customers who received both email and catalog marketing. And while some brands ditched hard copies because of printing costs, environmental concerns, and the rise of online shopping, others never stopped using them. Neiman Marcus has been putting out their holiday book for nearly 100 years. Printed mailers helped launch Sears in 1888, selling watches and jewelry.
It's here, the new Sears Wish Book.
Though gone are the days of dog-earing clunky catalogs, now replaced by sleeker spreads.
If you go back 20 years ago, 25 years ago, it was a picture of the product, it was a brief description, and it was maybe a pricing grid. Now what you're seeing with catalogs are they're telling a story. So it's someone actually using the product. It's not just a picture of the product.
Brands looking to the past to reimagine marketing for the future.
And so, guys, these are not our grandparents' catalogs. These modern catalogs feel a whole lot more like a fashion magazine. When you're paging through, there's not even a price in here. The closest thing to a price is actually the QR code. And there's this beautiful photography. Even there's an interview from the cover star, Demi Moore. So it's a totally different feel. I did ask J. Crew if they're seeing any success from this. And they tell me that since the launch of these catalogs, they have seen a rise of nearly 20% in what's called reactivated customers. So people who hadn't been shopping at J. Crew for a while were turning to the store. So it appears to be working.
Okay, I don't like the no price thing.
It's weird.
I'm like, how much is this thing
but
I
it's
like?
driving traffic to the website. So maybe some strategy there. I don't know.
It's not deterring people, clearly. All right, thank you, Emily. Appreciate it.
Let's get you some more money news now. German automaker Volkswagen is reporting a big drop in their most recent earnings as they continue to struggle with high costs and slowing sales.
CNBC's Savannah Hanau joined us with that and some other financial news. Savannah, good morning.
Hey, Joe. Hey, Savannah. Good morning. So workers at Volkswagen are threatening to go on strike unless the automaker backs down from plans to close some factories in Germany. Now, this coming as VW reports a more than 40% drop in quarterly profits, and the stock is trading at a 3-year low. Volkswagen has been in the midst of bitter talks with its unions over wages and fixing the company's future as higher costs and weaker demand in China is dragging down sales. Charles Schwab plans to roll out broader overnight trading to include all U.S. stocks and hundreds of ETFs. Now, the moves come as amid growing interest in extended hours for trading from retail investors. That's driving some brokerages and exchanges to expand their offerings. Just last week, the New York Stock Exchange said it would file for permission to extend trading to 22 hours each business day. And you can celebrate Advent your way with the help from Burger King. The fast food chain is releasing its very own limited edition Advent calendar. It'll be available starting November 22nd for just under $20. And the calendar's dozen drawers have Burger King related items that are worth more than $100 combined. Burger King is keeping the full list of items a surprise, guys.
But I'm guessing not food.
I guess, like coupons for like this is good for 5 burgers.
It's a surprise.
Like, what?
It's a surprise. We'll find out.
All right.
Well, I want to know. Okay, thanks, Savannah.
More money news. U.S.-based airlines are now required to automatically refund passengers who experience significant delays or similar issues while traveling.
Let's bring in Katie Nastro. She's a travel expert at Going. She joins us on this. Hey, Katie, good morning. So first, let's talk about what exactly qualifies for an automatic refund. What has to happen for people to get their money back?
Right. Okay, Savannah. So look, you might have remembered the epic snowpocalypse of 2022, or maybe the Southwest meltdown recently after, or you've experienced a recent flight delay of more than 3.5 hours due to, say, a maintenance issue. All of these situations would trigger these updates to the new DOT rule of automatic refunds if you choose not to take that rebooking that the airline provides. It's a really important distinction that people have to understand. You can get a refund or take a new flight, not have both.
That is important.
So let's get our dictionaries out. That term significant can have very different meanings to people. And until now, airlines were allowed to set their own definition of the word, which maybe doesn't seem super fair. What does the new rule define as significant?
Yeah, look, this portion of the rule really cuts down on a lot of confusion by travelers, myself included. If you don't fly with one particular airline all that much, or maybe you don't even fly that many times a year, you only fly around the winter holidays, for example, which are coming up, you probably have forgotten what exactly constituted a significant delay. Well, now, according to these new rules, there is no question of what a significant delay means for a domestic flight and an international flight. So for domestic flights, all you need to remember is if you hit 3 hours or more, you are entitled to that automatic refund. For international flights, it's 6 hours or more. That makes the process go into effect for you for this new rule.
So will these refunds be immediate? Will passengers have to call and request them? And then, your flight's delayed 6 hours and then you're on hold for another 6 hours? Like, how does this all work?
Yeah, look, so, a lot of us are probably going to look for alternatives for that rebooking, especially if it is the holiday season and we're looking to get somewhere. But if you don't do anything and you don't choose that rebooking that the airline provides, In theory, this should be automatically refunded back to your method of payment. And within 7 business days, if you paid with a credit card, if you had any other form of payments, it can take up to 20 days. But it might differ across airlines. Will Delta require this automatic process to be 72 hours, while other airlines like Spirit could take 5 days? There might be some inconsistency across there, but 7 business days is a lot faster than what we've seen in the past, which could have taken months in some examples, coming out of the pandemic especially.
Katie, how are the airlines reacting to this new rule?
Yeah, look, when this first was announced, the airlines were not exactly too thrilled by these new rules, but actually some have sort of come around. For example, for domestic flights, Alaska is still allowing people to get a refund for controllable delays. That means within their control of only an hour or more. So that's really a bonus for travelers flying with Alaska, as well as American has come forward and said that they will actually allow their policy for international flights to be 4 hours or more, not that 6 hours or more. So, we could potentially see airlines, maybe adjusting these policies specifically for their flyers, but it is, in essence, a good step forward for consumer protections when people fly.
Definitely. Right. Katie Nastro, thank you so much.
Thanks, Katie. Well, an ancient city that was once lost has now been found thanks to the help of some new technology. And this morning, we are getting a firsthand look at this newly discovered Mayan city in Mexico. As NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra explains, researchers say tens of thousands of people probably lived there, but over the years it got lost in the wilderness.
Deep in the jungle of Mexico, a lost Maya city now found thanks to new laser technology. PhD student Luke Thomas says he was looking through data on the internet and the numbers revealed a hidden gem.
I was delighted to find that the survey had in fact mapped lots of ancient Maya ruins previously completely unknown to the scientific community.
Across the sites the team mapped, more than 6,000 ancient buildings tied to the Mayas revealed their way of life. Pyramids and plazas, even a court for ball games.
All of the hallmarks of a lowland Maya political capital from about 1,000 years ago.
The scientists named the city Valeriana after a nearby lagoon, and based on the architecture, they think it was founded before the year 150. The Maya had hundreds of cities across Central America in its heyday, around 250 to 900 CE. But then the civilization collapsed and cities turned to jungles. Today, tourists from around the world flock to the Yucatan Peninsula to see the remnants. Wonders like Chichen Itza, Tulum, Coba, and now LiDAR, the same remote sensing technique used in self-driving cars and other robotics, is helping to discover more hidden cities like Axiotal in Guatemala.
It shows peeling away the points that represent vegetation to show buildings underneath.
And now Valeriana, showing us just how urban the Mayas were and how quickly things can change.
Maya civilization captures the imagination because it was populous and urbanized and complex. What may seem like, a giant thriving city that's always going to be there can actually end up being covered by jungle in the space of 200 years.
The new findings inspiring researchers to keep digging.
Our thanks to Marissa Parra for that report. And in that spirit of digging, according to archaeologists, this new laser technology has revolutionized how they survey areas and now has created a pathway to finding more of these lost sites. Very cool.
Coming up, it might be hard to believe, but yes, the year is coming to a close.
So what are some of the inventions that maybe made our lives easier, maybe cooler in 2024? We're breaking down Time's new list of the best of the best. It's up next. Welcome back. Finally this hour, we're getting one of the first looks at Time Magazine's Best Inventions list.
It features 200 groundbreaking innovations that the Time team says make the world a better, smarter, and more fun place. Editorial director for Time, Emma Barker, is here with more on the year's top picks. So before we get to the inventions, I mean, there are thousands and thousands of inventions. So how do you even come up with this list? Where do you even start?
Yeah, so we looked at sector categories first and then kind of narrow it down per sector at what inventions had the biggest impact on people's everyday lives, whether that's more from a consumer perspective or from a business and industry perspective.
So let's now talk about some of your favorites, some of the big ones. One of my favorites is right on the cover. I just told you one of the things I'm obsessed with, but tell us what you like.
Yeah, the firefly petunia from Light Bio is what you're talking about. It looks like a normal white petunia during the day, and at night it glows in the dark. And they created this by crossing the DNA with a bioluminescent mushroom.
So cool. What are some of the other top inventions?
Yeah. So also on the cover, we have Digit from Agility Robotics. It's a humanoid robot that in the past year started working at various manufacturing facilities, including warehouses for Amazon. Wow. And it's one of the first robots to be actually doing human jobs.
And it likes flowers. Yeah. So there you go. Read through some of, there's a bunch of them on there. Pick out a couple others that are some of your favorites.
Yeah, so the Dyson OnTrack headphones, Dyson hasn't crossed into headphones, but is known for their design. Yeah. They had a first kind of pass at headphones last year. These are extraordinarily well designed, very trendy. They change their different colors for different outfits, really a fashion statement. Wow. The Apple AirPods Pro 2 made a big splash in health this year for having hearing aids built in and a hearing test. So the new Apple AirPods, you can complete a clinical grade hearing test with your AirPods, and then if you are determined to have hearing loss, you can then use them as hearing aids, which is amazing.
And that's a great segue into the next thing I wanted to ask you, which is the biggest category this year really did turn out to be medical care. Talk about that.
Yeah, huge category, and I think AI had something to do with that, in that a lot of medical applications for that, including Google DeepMind's AlphaFold, which is a protein predictor that actually won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, two of the creators of it, this year, and will help with drug discovery. There's also FluMist, which will be hitting shelves next year. It's a nasal spray alternative to the flu shot for those of folks who are needle averse. That will be hitting shelves for next year's flu season.
That could be huge. I do a nasal spray migraine medicine because I'm too scared of the needle one, so I know how much of a difference that can make. Why do this list? I know it's been going on for like 20 years. What made y'all want to do this in the first place?
Yeah, I think it's a really amazing way to highlight kind of human innovation. We're looking at not just products and shoppable products, but we're looking at ideas and services and things that are really moving the world. And these are from everything from huge companies to independent inventors who just came up with a great idea. And it's a really fun way to highlight human ingenuity.
That's so cool. And the Dyson thing you mentioned, those were headphones, you said?
Yes.
They don't vacuum.
They do not vacuum.
Or blow dry your hair.
Hopefully.
Air dry your hair.
Emma Barker, thank you very much. We love getting a sneak peek at these time lists. We appreciate it. Congrats
Thanks for
on the
having
list.
me.
Good to see you.
That is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Don't go anywhere, though. The news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.